Chop all these siege tanks now. Those drones really desperately trying to run for their lives. There's Wednesday Night for vVv Gaming. He was never really ahead. He was trying to always claw his way back in, but when he wins, he's just simply so dominant. As game 1 is getting underway, MLG Daybreak, Hasuu versus Crazy, and as soon as the game is up and running, Matron, why don't you go ahead and take it away for us?
Sure. So as you mentioned, we are on MLG Daybreak here. Again, like I said, a new ladder map. I'm pretty excited about the expanded map pool for the ladder this season. And we're going to start out with vVv's Protoss player Hasuu spawning as the green Protoss in the southwest corner of MLG Daybreak. And Underrated Gaming's Crazy going to be in the northeast corner, spawning as the blue Terran player. So why don't you review the map a little bit for players who haven't been laddering too much, or maybe you haven't seen this map in any tournaments.
All right, so inside each of the players at the 1 o'clock and the 7 o'clock locations are the spawning locations. Right outside their bases, you do have the natural expansion. It is on a bit of a high ground there, but there's a lot of area to cover. Outside your front door, you have destructible rocks which can get taken down. By taking down these rocks, you do make the map a little bit smaller, as units don't have to zigzag as much across the map. Also, there is a second entrance into your natural expansion that also leads to your third expansion. This third expansion is on relative low ground, and there is not any true choke point, so units can easily get in there. Zealots, stalkers, a large ground army could easily pressure. Now, it is a nice mirrored map, so both players do have similar setups, and in the center of the map, there's also some destructible debris, so taking down these rocks as well will make the map a bit smaller, and we'll see what's going to happen as the game does progress. There are also 2 Xel'Naga towers, as we see both a barracks and a gateway now warping in from Hasuu and Crazy.
Yeah, Hasuu sending out a pretty early scout, just wants to make sure his opponent's not going for a command center first or any build like that, which he would have to respond with his own Nexus. So just going to be 1 Rax at this point, no gas yet for Crazy. So Hasuu wants to stay in here with this probe, get all sorts of information early on, because like we said, players can go for early 1 base play with 2 or 3 racks and a gas. They can try to tech up pretty early and go for Banshee play, something more techy, or they can go for the economy play. And it looks like Crazy going to be going for the economy early on, not showing any gas yet, not showing any additional barracks. And Hasu's going to respond with just his 1 gateway and cybernetics core. And I imagine he's going to be throwing down a fast expansion himself, and will at least be on 2 bases for both players.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times Protoss players need to get that earlier assimilator, just because Protoss is much more gas reliant. They need to get the cybernetics core. They want to start up that warp gate tech. And with that, we may see perhaps some sort of sentry opening coming in from Hasuu. Sentry is very, very good at defending choke points with those force fields, and also just making the map seem, or making areas seem a little bit tighter. You're going to see an SCV come in from Crazy. Crazy's taking a look around, and he wants to figure out what is going down. Crazy will come down the ramp, spot the Nexus in just a second here, and both players are going to be going into 2 base play, so I don't expect any action from either of these 2 armies for, say, the next 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah, Crazy spotted that expansion. He saw there was just 1 gas, so there's not much else that Hasuu could be doing but expanding here. So both players going to feel pretty comfortable. Crazy's getting down that bunker, so he's going to be able to get out 3 or 4 Marines and feel safe. And then behind that, it looks like he will be adding a 2nd and 3rd barracks. So pretty standard play from Crazy, getting down that expansion, adding the 2nd and 3rd racks. We'll see if he takes the double gas before these racks finish, so that he can start with his tech labs, stim, research, etc. And there's the double gas now.
Yeah, so the double gas, a perfect timing coming in from Crazy. He wants to make sure that he's not too far behind. He needs to get those add-ons. Add-ons require gas, marauders, and making the Marines better just with stim pack and combat shield. Always a very nice addition, as Crazy does set up his natural expansion, upgrading to an orbital command already. Meanwhile, taking a look inside Hasu's base, Hasuu getting in some additional gateways, 3 gateways right now, but no Twilight Council, no real tier 2, 2.5, or tier 3 buildings coming in from him. No Twilight Council, no Stargate, no robotics facility. So I think Hasuu is just going to be on the defensive end, perhaps knowing that his opponent is building up a lot of barracks and wanting to make sure that he has his own gateway units to fend it off.
Yeah, so he's going to have 3 gates at this point. He does have 2 gas, so we'll see whether he decides to put on a little bit of pressure with these gates once they come up. The Cybernetics Core is finished the warp gate tech, so he does have a proxy pylon at the 3rd of Crazy, but Crazy's found that with the Marine. It's taking it down slowly but surely there, and the first Stalker for Hasuu is out on the map, so he will be able to fend off this Marine and keep this pylon alive. So Hasuu might have a little bit of timing here where he can warp in some units and force some pressure on the front door of Crazy.
Yeah, right now you're going to see a group of Marines try to clean up that proxy pylon. It's always very important to not allow Protoss players to keep these proxy pylons, as they make the map just infinitely smaller, as since they can reinforce anywhere at once. The pylon does go down, so trading a Marine for a pylon, not too shabby for Crazy, as we're now going to see Hasuu, I believe, just warping his units back at home and play a little bit more defensively, as he's also warping in all of his pylons a little bit closer together, something that I wish I didn't see from Hasuu, as you mentioned, this map does have a lot of drops, and I wish that he utilized these pylons, perhaps with a little bit of overlap, but revealed some of this fog of war as units could be coming in.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to want to spread those out in his main just a little bit as the game progresses. We'll see if he does that. Right now, just focusing on his gateway tech units with his 3 gates, and then getting out. It's going to be 1 observer popping out right now and a 2nd one on the way. I really like the fact that Hasuu had taken those initial towers. Crazy was able to take 1 back, though, with just a Marine. So we'll see whether Hasuu is going to try to wrestle back map control a little bit. He does have a probe across the field, placing another proxy pylon down in the southeast corner. So with the observer, he's going to be able to spot what Crazy is doing, and he might decide to sort of turn on the pressure a little bit.
Well, right now may not be the time to turn on the pressure. As soon as Hasuu gets up and ready, he's going to be dealing with double medevacs, stimmed Marines, and Marauders. And with only gateway units without charge, it's gonna be a little bit of an uphill climb. Also, we're seeing level 1 weapons upgrade coming in from Crazy. Meanwhile, Hasuu hasn't really done any research as of yet. He is going for double forge. He has a lot of energy on his 2nd Nexus. I hope he starts chrono boosting out all of his weapons upgrades, as he needs to do a little bit of catch up, since the Terran infantry weapon upgrades has about a 70-second lead.
And the first observer actually ran right into a missile turret, was taken down. I really wish Protoss players would be very careful with those observers. You cannot lose those early on, because if you try to replace them, then it's just more time that you can't be creating immortals or colossi, so that costs you in more ways than one. Now, he does have this observer position in the main of Crazy, so he sees the starport is done. He knows that drops are a possibility, and we could be seeing some drops right now, as they do have the 2 medevacs making their way through the center of the field. And I'd like to see Crazy try a little bit of a split attack here, maybe sending 1 medevac to drop the main while he puts pressure on the front door.
All right, we'll see what's going to be happening now. Level 1 weapons upgrade about to be completed. The timing very good. There is a force field. They're splitting up many of the units. The medevacs caught in a really strained situation, and now nicely done by Hasuu, trading energy on a sentry for some from life on units, and we'll see whether or not it's going to work again, as the Zealots could charge, no, not charge after, just try to chase after. Crazy has to be careful with the number of stims, as he does not have combat shield yet completed for those Marines. 1 or 2 too many stims, and those Marines would all be in the red.
Yeah, and I think seeing those immortals too definitely made him pause and turn tail a little bit, as they provide the firepower that Hasuu would really need before he has blink or before he has charge lots to try to take on those stim Marines. And we do see players pretty even on supply at this point. It's 100 to 94. Crazy's about to finish his 3rd command center, so he could expand pretty quickly here. Hasuu has yet to start his own Nexus at the 3rd, though he is placing a pylon there, so imagine he will be expanding as well. He's adding a ton of gateways, 3 at this point. I imagine he'll add a few more once his 3rd Nexus, 3rd base does get up and running, and he's continuing the upgrades, like you said. Already with 1-1, now 2-2, and the Terran player has stopped his upgrades. I believe his armory is about to complete, so both players working on a macro game, 3rd bases, and 2-2 upgrades.
Right now we see Crazy moving in with 2 medevacs. We'll see how much damage these 2 can do. Also, there is 1 observer very nearby, so Hasuu should be able to catch sight of these medevacs and perhaps start warping in units. There is 2 Zealots and 3 Stalkers already in position. And what's going to be happening? The medevacs apparently stopping to look at the stars as Hasuu has perfect vision on these medevacs, and as long as he reacts and responds accordingly, this drop is going to be pushed back, already taking some damage. Crazy realizing that he can't stick around.
Hasuu, I think, was trying to pull back those units a little bit to bait the drop, so he would at least be able to take down a medevac or two, but Crazy was not going to fall for that. Pulls back right away. One medevac gets to about half health, but he's going to pull back and just add those armies to his, or add those units to his big army here. Right now, he is ahead economically. He's got that third orbital command working. He's got the 66 harvesters to 56, so pretty soon he's going to be able to get ahead of Hasuu, as Hasuu falling a little bit behind here as we hit the mid game.
Yeah, Crazy right now also going into that Ghost Academy and getting the level 1 weapons upgrade for the ships. So Vikings are going to be able to counter Colossi, and the Ghosts, if they have more energy than the High Templar, there's not going to be very much that can stop this Bio army. Marines and Marauders very, very effective when they have medevac support like they do right now. Level 2 weapons upgrade about to be completed. Meanwhile, Protoss level 2 upgrades are essentially already completed, as we're now going to see Stalkers getting caught a little bit out of position here, and a massive attack coming into over here at the third base.
And if you check out, there's 4 observers on the field right now for Hasuu, so he's really seeing everything. He's got them positioned very well. Crazy pushing in here at the third. We'll see whether he's able to take on this army. Charge not yet complete for the Zealots, so they're not going to be able to get in on this army quite yet. Actually, those force fields doing more harm than good, keeping those Zealots the primary DPSers of Hasu's army there. He just has so many away from these units for Crazy, so Crazy getting a pretty decent trade there, able to lighten the army a little bit for Hasuu, do a little bit of damage, and just pull back.
Yeah, so I like that play by Hasuu. Hasuu and Crazy both engaged what they needed to do. Hasuu, with so much information, as you mentioned, pretty much has every main walkway or flight path covered, and he's going to know when exactly someone's trying to attack. The Zealot does go down at the Zelnaga Tower, and we'll see what's going to be happening next as the Colossi is joining in. 2-2 upgraded Colossi. Marines and Marauders, both sides battling it out. The Zealots are absorbing a lot of the attack now. Zealots still streaming in from behind. The Immortals need to push their way in. And now Crazy finally realizes that he needs to run away. He did not do that good of a trade there, as more and more units are falling.
That charge just finishing now. He really needed that in the last 2 engagements. It looks like we have Zealots working on the third base of Crazy, though. See how many SCVs he was able to kill. He really needed to do some economic damage. It looks like he's killed only 7 SCVs so far, because it's 73 SCVs to 60 probes. So before even that harassment, Crazy was about 20 SCVs ahead of Hasuu, still about 13. So Hasu's got a ticking clock here. He's got to do some damage before Crazy just out macros him.
All right, we'll see what's going to happen next. There is one Viking in the air, and that's one Viking that's going to have a very, very hard day against that Colossus there, especially with Stalkers blinking over. 2 Vikings already down. The Marines and the Marauders now trying to come in. There's the force field, but is there enough energy on the sentries? One more force field could come down, but it doesn't look like Hasuu is going to place it down at all. In a rather strange position there. The Immortals are pushing back, and it looks like the Stalkers blink away to let the Colossi die. The Immortals are going to try to exchange against some Marauders, but with the medevacs healing, Crazy getting the better of that engagement now, and Crazy also with the better income. We'll see how this turns out. This may be the tipping point unless Hasuu is able to deal some true damage either into the production or into the economy of Crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty tough for Hasuu. Took a lot of losses there. Right now he's just got 3 Colossi, so the big DPSers on the Protoss side, there's not many of them. Looks like now he's coming in with the High Templar. They don't yet have Storm, and it looks like he's going to immediately morph them into Archon. So he's going to have the Archon charge lots pushing ahead, using those Colossi in the back for DPS, but he's just so far behind at this point. Crazy taking his 4th base, but Hasuu actually has a Zealot there doing a lot of damage to the SCVs of Crazy, and Crazy trying to get us around, but the Zealot is expertly positioned by this mineral line, racking up the kills already with 10, 11, 12, just chewing through these SCVs, and Crazy really can't afford this. Now 67 probes to 52 SCVs. That Zealot got 15 SCV kills, so that's exactly what Hasuu needs to get back into this, but he's trying to establish this fourth while he is behind, and it's going to be really tough for him to take.
Yeah, right now 3 more Zealots running into the third base, but we are going to see a very, very large engagement here. Crazy may just try to knock in and bury down the front door. It looks like more SCVs are going to run away, but the Zealots are doing a great job, and now it is 2 bases to 3 as there's nothing mining at the third base. And Marauders are now making their way over. SCV is doing a good job holding their position, making sure that to limit the amount of surface area. But the Zealots may just eat through more and more SCVs as they do have 3/3 upgrades, making those fusion cutters just do 2 damage per attack.
Yes, so many SCV kills. If Hasu's able to survive this next attack, he could win this game. 69 harvesters to 35. He's going to allow these gateways at his third to absorb a lot of damage here. He doesn't want to go quite into a battle yet until he gets another warp in. The warp in is canceled though as the pylon does go down. Here come the Archons and the Zealots doing their best to tank some damage. The Vikings on the side trying to focus down these Colossi. 1 Colossi is left. I'm not sure Hasu's going to have enough to save this third. It's going down very quickly as Crazy pushes in with this small force. Yeah,
Crazy doing a great job here, just barreling in, and I think Crazy taking on that pylon was the key moment, stopping the warp in of about 9 to 11 Zealots. Those Zealots would have absorbed a lot more damage, making the Colossi much more deadly, making the Archons more deadly. So both players in a little bit of a strange position now. They have large armies, but they're kind of afraid of, if they attack at the wrong moment, everything would unravel at just the wrong time. So I think both players are just going to perhaps try to slow down, be a little bit more cautious. Both sides have lost a fair amount of workers, 48 workers killed for Hasuu, 25 for Crazy, and it is now 44 probes to 35 SCVs.
Yeah, Hasuu still has the advantage of workers, but there's 4 bases established for Crazy. One actually, his 4th hasn't landed quite yet, but still Hasuu doing so much damage with these Zealot warp-ins. With this proxy pylon, that pylon worth its weight in minerals there. Probably spawn Zealots that kill those 50 workers, like you said. But Crazy does have these 4 orbital commands, so with mules and 4 orbitals pumping SCVs, he's going to be able to get back into this one. He still has the food advantage, 141 to 119, and if he's able to get a small smattering of ghosts in here to get some good EMPs off on those Archons and Zealots before they even hit his forces, with the Vikings he now has, I'm not sure Hasuu is going to be able to win this next engagement.
Well, the problem is that Hasuu right now has 5 Hive Templars, and all of them are ready to go with Psystorm. So the Ghosts now need to be trained, and it's going to actually delay Crazy's attack. Crazy now trying to come in across the north, perhaps trying to do a little bit of a sneak attack, but there is an observer there. And now what is going to happen? And now Stalkers quickly take down a couple of the medevacs. They get gung-ho feedback across a couple of those as well. Nicely played. And now all of these Marines and the Marauders, where exactly can they go? If they try to run up, they're going to get siphoned off. More feedback. Psystorm, here we go. A lot of damage was dealt, and the Marines and the Marauders in a little bit of a dangerous situation. What's going to happen now?
There's 1 Ghost in there. If you can get a good EMP off on these High Templar, it could basically win this next battle. These storms going to be so huge. Force field's going down, trapping all of these units. This is a great position for Hasuu. He's got these units between force fields, Colossi, and Zealots. Storms, beautiful storms go down, rip apart the bio, and there's the GG from Crazy. Hasu's done it. He's won game 1.
Okay, that was an amazing game. That was back and forth. I was not sure who was going to win that up until the very end. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I was sitting there going, how can Hasuu handle this? And then I realized that Hasuu almost baited Crazy to come in. If you take a look at the final score, it actually shows Crazy with more resources, more units killed, and more structures, and he lost the game.
Yeah, baited in there to that third, got trapped on that ramp. Hasuu had force fields on one end, charge lots on the other, and that's a perfect recipe for placing down those good storms. The storms came a little bit late, but by that point they just cleaned up the remaining forces of Crazy. I think Crazy might have GG'd a little bit early there, but he probably would have lost the game in the next push. But a lot of back